Hey, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to look at a knife that's really a special one. This is made by Western Cutlery. This is the Westmark 702. Really beautiful knife that Western Cutlery made this line back in the 70s. And well, I know this one was made in the 70s because I know when it was purchased. They may have made them into the 80s, but just really beautifully made, beautiful materials, a sheath that is just amazing. We're going to take a look at this, put it on the bench, and tell you a little bit about the history of this knife. This was my grandfather's, and really a special knife. So if you're into Western Cutlery, like I am, they got some really great knives, beautiful quality, and let's take a look at this Westmark 702. I got one of these knives back in the 70s, early 70s. And you can see there's three models here. The 701 was the largest one. 702 is this one, the medium one. And the 703 they kind of built as a skinning knife, had this kind of humpback thing going on back here. And the one I got, my father gave me, was this 703. And my youngest son now has this. I've given it to him because I inherited this one that my father originally had given to my grandfather. And it was when my grandfather passed away, I ended up inheriting it. And so this is that knife. It's really a beautiful knife. Now this knife has been used. It's not, it wasn't just put away. It definitely had some use. This little brochure actually was with the 703 that my dad gave me. And these came in a well, it was paper, like wood grain paper covered cardboard kind of hinged box. But this, interesting thing about this, if you read the literature on these knives, it actually talks about the rust-resistant American tool steel. Now, they don't say exactly what kind of tool steel, but they do reference super cold treatment. So they were doing cryogenic treatment on these blades, which I think is really, this is the first knife I ever owned that I knew that cryogenic treatment had been done. That was back in the 70s. That was, pretty high science back then. So the handles, they talk about this quality hardwood. It looks kind of like walnut or maybe rosewood, and they say it's resin impregnated. Of course, brass hilt and the pins and this aluminum pommel, and it's just a really beautiful knife. And Westmark was Western Cutlery's premium line, and talks about the guarantee and the serial number. These knives are actually serial numbered. So this one is 02317, and you can see it says Westmark here, USA, and 702. So these, like I say, these are actually serialized, and it tells, the book tells how to sharpen them and that sort of thing, and then it shows the three models. So this is a 5-inch blade, overall 9.5 inches. That's what the book says. And the original list price was $29.95. Now, I happen to know that my dad bought this at a store called TG&Y. They had a sporting goods department. It was TG&Y was kind of like Walmart today. It was, I guess you called it a department store. They had everything from clothes to food to sporting goods to animals and pets and toys and everything. My dad even was a photographer, and they even had a photo department there. He could even go by, if he was on a weekend and he needed some film developer or something, he could even buy it there. So they just had, TG&Y was an amazing store. I think it stood for Thomas Gosland and Young, and so we were in there one day. Always went to the sporting goods department when we were there, and these were on sale. It was Christmas time, and these were on sale for $20, $19.99, and they were on sale. And so my dad bought one for me, and he bought one for my grandfather, and he also bought one of these for himself. And I really don't know what happened to his, but this one was my grandfather's. These are just beautifully made. And like I say, this knife was used, so you can see there's some scratches on the blade. My grandfather actually used it. By the time my dad gave him this knife, he was probably around my age. I'm in my mid-60s. So my grandfather he didn't go camping with us, but when we were camping, he would sometimes come out to where we were camping and spend the day with us. And I'm sure he probably used this around his house for some things.
But these hold just an amazing edge, and they're great steel in these. I'm guessing since they call it rust-resistant tool steel, there's probably a pretty good likelihood it's D2 or something like that, but they don't say exactly what it was, and there's no way to know. Now this is a typical of Westmark knives. This has the split tang, so you notice that this looks like a full tang knife, right? So you can see the blade going all the way back to here. Same thing on the bottom. And there's two rivets that hold the pommel on, here and here. And so in the middle, this tang is actually split. It's actually open in the middle, and kind of like two tines of a tuning fork. And this is, Case did this, their knives were patented for it. This is an old 648. I've done a video on this knife before. It's got the same thing, the two pins, and the washers on this thing, if you have to take this apart, these spacers are actually H-shaped. So there's like half round and then a notch and then half round and another notch at the top. And so they could actually make a knife like this with these spacers. The spacers can't fall out, but they're not actually just half a spacer in here. They're actually joined in the middle between where this is split. And on this knife, if you look very closely, here you can actually kind of see where the brass goes into that space between the two sections of the hilt. It's kind of visible. So it's a design that was patented by Western Cutlery, and they claimed it was much stronger than the typical knife back then, which would have a thin centerpiece, and that would either be peened over or maybe have a nut on the end of the pommel. Case did that, and some other makers did it. This is another Western Cutlery. This is one I've got to restore at some point. You can really kind of see the connective tissue here between these two. The pommel's shaped more like that 648, but this has the wood grips. And this is I bought this at a flea market. The tip's been knocked off of it. At some point I've got to restore this, but this would have been a really pretty knife. Sometime I'll do that. Western Cutlery also made some pocket knives. I've done a video on this Western Cutlery Barlow. It's one of my favorite Barlows. So anytime you run into Western Cutlery knives, they're absolutely something to take a look at. I think the quality of Western Cutlery in no way takes a back seat to Case knives. I think they're every bit the quality. I mean, you look at the sheath on this thing. Look at this. It's formed, really beautifully made, and it's a design that really works. A lot of sheaths that have a strap up here near the pommel, the knife can come halfway out before anything really stops it. This sheath, really well designed. Now it will rattle a bit, so you kind of had to, there's enough space in there that the blade can, flop back and forth a little bit. But these are just beautifully made, just as well made as any holster that you would buy at that time. Just really gorgeous. And so the Western Cutlery knives were definitely something really special. So if you're, like I say, if you run across one of these, if you find a good deal on one, I think they're definitely one to pick up. The Westmark knives, not only a beautiful, collector's knife, but they're also great user knives. This 648 is one that I used to use when I was doing Boy Scouts and stuff, and it's a great knife. And once I get this other one fixed up, I'll put it to use. And of course that little Barlow, I definitely use that. But Western Cutlery they made just some really great knives, and this Westmark 702 is a great example of it.
That's the Westmark 702. A really gorgeous knife. Like I say, this was my grandfather's. I really treasure this knife now because of that. But even if that weren't the case, if this was just something I found somewhere, these are just beautifully made knives. So definitely one to keep an eye out for. If you haven't ever looked at the Western Cutlery as a brand to collect, and especially their Westmark knives, then these are definitely something really special to find and to collect. So anyway, I always appreciate it when you join me and watch my videos. If you have any thoughts or questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.